Hi there, how are you today? My name is Kayode Hajamali, and I welcome you to this presentation on navigating the future. Quite a lot of anxiety about the future. What exactly does the future hold? How am I sure that I will be successful in the future? All right. The objective for this presentation is to help you, the listener, identify three important elements required to navigate the future. Three important elements required to help you become successful, irrespective of how the future presents itself. I want to ask that as you watch this video, that you pick a part of your life, preferably your career or something, that you can apply the lessons to. All right, so that as you watch and listen, you are going to be able to pick out the lessons you learn and apply them specifically to certain areas of your career. So we could say for you, it might be how to navigate the future of your career, how to navigate your career. All right, something like that. A couple of perspectives exist about the future. First is abundance. Some people believe that it doesn't matter how the future holds, it doesn't matter what the future turns out to be, opportunity always abound. All right. And this is not an idea of a utopia, it's just the belief that there is no scarcity. They operate from the abundant mindset. Some other people believe that, well, the world as it is right now is full of scarcity. Resources are scarce, and so as much as possible, as we progress into the future, things become even more scarce. All right, and so you need to walk from that mindset. And there is another perspective that I prefer, which is paranoid optimism, which is balancing the idea of abundance with scarcity. All right, which suggests the need to marry science and intuition. They need to marry facts and reality. All right, they need to find that balance. They need to marry hope, optimism, and reality. All right, so whether you're optimistic about the fact that the future always provides abundance, or you are not so optimistic about the future because you believe that resources are scarce, there is that balance point you have to get yourself to in order to navigate the future. Whichever one you choose, abundance, the scarcity mindset, or the balance, which I prefer, I believe that the things we'll be sharing in this module will be very helpful. So as we progress now, a couple of things I want you to do is to look at where you are today. Look at where you are today. Look at where you were 5, 10 years ago. A question is, did you predict today with 100% accuracy? Yeah, my guess is as good as yours. No, right? Suggest to you that prediction, whilst good, is not something that we can totally depend on as we progress in the future, as we move into the future. And of course, let me also quickly say this: the future is not just some years ahead, not like 10 years. It's part of the future. The future also includes the next minute, the next second, as long as you're not in it now, and as part of a continuum that you're not part of currently, it's something that's in the future. So look at where you are today. Look at where you were 5, 10 years ago. So apply this to your career. Look at where you were in your career 10 years ago. Look at where you are today. Would you say that you predicted 100% the direction of your career? Yes, maybe some people here are a prophet and they were able to do that, but majority of people just couldn't and just didn't, just lived. All right. So we're going to look into this perspectives as we try to understand how to navigate the future. The truth is, we cannot fully and clearly see the future. It's not like a transparent mirror where you just look into and you can see the next minute, the next 10 years, the next 5 years. It doesn't matter how deeply we look, we cannot see the future. And that's because the future is not static. The future is dynamic, it's always in movement, it's always in motion. The future is not entirely within our control. The future is not entirely within your control. We are, as humans, we're creatures of control. We like to control things. We like to have a hang on things. We like to have control over time, over seasons, over work, over our schedule. All of those things are very good. But the future, it's not like that. It's not within your control. The future, as a matter of fact, is impacted by several variables. All right, trends, inventions, your actions, your inactions, that of the strangers. All right, so look at it this way: you have a future that you envisage for your career, and perhaps you live in Nigeria. There's some other guys who live somewhere in the UK, somewhere in Iraq, somewhere in Pakistan, somewhere in Singapore, somewhere in China, who also envision a kind of future for their career. And they are all each taking actions in that direction. Their actions and inactions will culminate into the realities that will determine what your future will look like. In other words, we live in a globalized society. We live in a global village. We live in an interconnected society. So, the actions of some persons, certain nodes, in some places, in some settlements, eventually, inadvertently affect what becomes of your future. Currently, right now, we are in the AI boom, artificial intelligence. And so perhaps you were part of the people who invented the AI in that sense, or you are, on the other hand, part of the users. I mean, you were not part of the inventors, the creators of that technology. It suggests that whilst they were working on, it, even though you were not aware, the result of that action will somehow impact upon your career, whether you are going to have to lose a job, or you have to create new jobs, or you have to be able to access new opportunities. All of those things are not totally within your control. All right. So the future and the reality you envisage for your career, as it were right now, is impacted by several variables, many of which are not within your control. Trends, actions, inactions, inventions, and things that strangers do. The future is not unilateral, but it coexists, like I explained. Right? So even if you don't live with some persons around your house or in some persons in your locality, some persons outside they are also taking actions, taking steps, and they all shape what we will call our future. All right. So sometimes in the past we had to deal with sicknesses, but as a result of some actions, some progress in science and breakthrough, we have put those diseases in our past. All right. So, in other words, that your health in the future coexists with the actions of some persons who were proactive in finding solutions to that problem. So, here's the big picture: the future you're envisaging is not within your control, and it's within the purview of other actors for which you are one of the stakeholders. But the goal is, how can you become a major stakeholder in your future, despite the fact that you have several actors, all right, in that game? So, a couple of things I want you to quickly do. Where are you right now? Where are you in your career? Just take your time to pick a pen and just write these things down. Where are you currently in your career? Your expertise level, your progress level, what you think you've achieved, and all of that, what you think you've not achieved. What is changing in your career? What are the trends in your career right now? I'm using the word career because that's what we're trying to apply to. It could be some other things you want to apply to. How does these trends or change affect you and your career? And these are things that you cannot effectively answer without doing some research. All right. So it means that where you are, what is changing, the trends, and how these trends affect you, you would have to make some research to understand what are the trends in my career. Am I aware? Am I oblivious of these things? What do I need to do? Okay, so knowing that you're not totally in control of the future is not static. The future coexist with other variables that are not within your control. The future is shaped by several variables, trends, actions of people that are not necessarily your friends. They're other stakeholders in the future. What can you do? One thing I believe you can do is expectations. Is to have expectations. Whether modest expectations or big expectations, you should have expectations. So you should expect something in the future. Expect something of the future. Now, knowing the dynamism of the future and how multifaceted it can be, we can only then have expectations of the future and we design these expectations into the future. Okay, I'll take that again. Knowing the dynamism of the future and how multifaceted it can be, we can only have expectations of the future and design these expectations into the future. So that takes us then into expectations design. All right. So I can't control these things, but then I can design my expectations such that irrespective of how the future decides to spin out of control, I still have something I'm able to hold on to, which is my expectation. So we get into this quickly now. Now, the meteorologist expects rain to fall, but not only by intuition, all right, but also by looking at certain metrics. So the other day I was coming, and the driver was driving, looked into the sky and said, "Oh, it's going to rain today." Well, I wonder how he knew that, but maybe by reason of experience, and he was right because it did rain that day. But the truth is, without experience and without the necessary fact, it is very unlikely that he will be able to predict with same level of accuracy consistently, even without seeing the sky. Now, the meteorologists have that advantage. Sometimes they don't even need to see the sky, but there's certain metrics that they already have that can be used to evaluate and decide whether there will even be a rain in the next 3 days. So intuition can help you. I mean, in this case, in designing your expectations, there's a limited help you can supply. Metrics, in fact, must complement intuition. All right. So in designing your expectation, you are not just going to be doing it based on hope. You are going to marry hope with fact. You are not just going to be projecting positive thinking. You are going to marry positive thinking with facts, realities, and measurable quantities. All right? You are not just going to be hopeful. You are going to be objective, pragmatic, and practice the other thing I said at the time, which is being optimistic, paranoid optimism. Now, the salesman also does those things. So look at this now. The woman who is in a labor room who wants to give birth, she has an expectation that she expects a baby and expects the baby to be in good health when the baby comes to life. But then there are other actors, the doctor, the nurses, the quality of health care, the quality of instruments available, many other things that will determine whether this patient will come to pass. All right. So the woman here in this case must marry expecting having a good baby with the fact that there has to be a competent doctor. Otherwise, the expectations will be good, but it is not properly designed. The salesman who wants to make sales understands these things too. Look at what they do. The salesman expects people to buy, not just by being hopeful, but by first doing the work of learning about the customer and reaching out to them. So have a product to sell. I'm hopeful to reach 1,000 customers in 3 days. Good expectation. But I then marry that with customer understanding, learning about customer behavior, getting the fact right. All right. knowing what they want and how to sell to them, when I marry that with my intuition, with my hope, with my projections, then we might eventually be designing a proper expectation. Expectations are not wishes. Expectations are not wishes. Okay? The grounded reality. So, like an iterative design, they're designed iteratively based on the feedback that you get from the realities around you. Expectations design still on that. While your expectations are your expectations, I mean, you're the one expecting to see these things in the future, know that there are other people who have expectations too. So, just like we have people who want the world to be good, some people expect the world to continually be bad so that they can profit from it. So, there's usually a clash of expectations, and you are not in total control of the delivery of expectations. So, many people have good expectations of life, to have a good life, to have a good future, to be successful. But eventually, you find out that your expectation is also juggling among several expectations. And at some point, it gets crashed or it gets crushed in between other better, powerfully designed expectations, yet not good. All right. So somebody have expectation to live in security, but there's a thief who better designs his expectation to steal from him properly and gets to steal effectively without being caught. Whereas the person who desires security and expects it does not put structures in place to make things secure. All right. So what do you then do with all of these things I've mentioned? There are a couple of things you need to identify. Identify the variables that are within your control, that is in design your expectations. Identify the variables outside your control. Identify the pivotal variables. Ultimately and critically, you must know that there are things that you can't control. So, for example, you have an expectation to become an HR leader, whatever it is, or technology leader, product manager in your company in the next 2 years. That's your expectation. Now we're trying to design this expectation now. As you design it, you're aware that there are variables outside your control. There are things outside of your control. There are things within your control. It could be your certifications that you have to acquire, doing your job properly, cultivating relationships with your bosses and things like that. Those are things within your control. Then you need to also ask yourself, what are the things outside my control? For example, maybe the person you think will promote you in the next 2 years might or could have been sacked or could have been exported to another branch. Something could have happened. I mean, anything can happen in the next 2 years, you know. Or maybe the company will no longer exist in 2 years. So you factor in those realities into it. Then there is what we call the pivotal variable. So look at the fulcrum, the lever system. You have the load, you have the effort, you also have the fulcrum in the middle, the pivot. As long as the pivot is in place, equilibrium is achievable. So think of it like that. The pivotal variables refer to the most impactful things that you will do that will guarantee or bring about the best result. So almost like you're thinking about the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. What is the 20% of things that I must do that will guarantee 80% of the result? So in designing your expectations, note that it's not also static. It has to be iterative. It has to be adaptive. It has to be adaptable. All right. Now, your goal now is after identify the things within your control, the things you can't control. For example, trying to be an HR leader, you can't control whether your boss will decide to choose you. Perhaps there are other people also jostling for that position. Those are not within your control. All right. So then what do? You try to focus on the things that you can control. And within the things you can control, you try to find also the pivotal variables. As a matter of fact, it might even be that the pivotal variables are also within the things you can't control so that you know where to focus your best effort on. Here's an example. I want to use the man and the woman. So typically, a man and a woman, when they come together in sexual activity, the man has a semen that must be ejaculated into the woman's ecosystem for her to cultivate the sperm alongside the egg to, fertilization, all of those things to happen to bring about a baby. Now, if the semen or sperm were to be poured on the ground, it wouldn't matter how strong the sperm is. Babies don't grow on the ground; they grow within a woman's body. And of course, this is not about other means of getting babies outside, all right? But I'm trying to explain to you that if you want a sperm to grow, it has to be grown within a system where the eggs are available and all of that, whether it's in the woman's body or it's outside. All right, that's the idea. So the most impactful thing that a man needs to do is to ejaculation is important, is to ensure if you want a baby, is to put it in that ecosystem where the eggs and other systems are available to ensure that the semen can be properly fertilized and cultivated alongside the egg to make a baby. So other things can be done. But if you don't do that, no baby will come. All right. Now, there are things outside of the control of the man, even after ejaculation, but there's a level of certainty that you can have that I haven't ejaculated in this system, haven't poured this system, haven't poured this sperm into this system. I expect with some level of certainty to have this kind of result. In other words, to expect a baby. So it's the same thing. You need to identify the systems that are properly designed for your effort. Effort is good, but they must be invested into a system that have the catalytic ability to ensure that what you've invested into it can bring about the maximum result. So you need to identify in becoming an HR leader, a product manager in my company in the next 2 years, what is the most impactful variable that will influence the decision positively in my favor. Then I find it and I stick to it. Very important. And these are the things that it has to come through research, through questions, and sometimes even your biases can block your face. Because sometimes we optimize our life and our desires towards our strength. Sometimes the best things you might want to get, might be getting that should be coming to you, might be in the place of your weakness. But because we always want to do things that are easy for us, we leave out the things that are not easy, but they can eventually become the things that will change the game for us. Okay, so in scaling your expectations, what do you do? Take note of these three things: people, places, effort. You will need to learn to build relationships. You need to understand the importance of places. Places don't mean traveling out of a particular location. Places could be being in a meeting with your boss. Places refers to that opportunity you have to interact with people and information. All right. So it could be an internet space, it could be an offline space, but whatever provides and presents you with the opportunities to interact with people and knowledge are critical spaces and places that you must find yourself getting into in order to be able to shape your expectations. So, for example, somebody who is not aware of how AI is disrupting their workspace might be dreaming of building a solution that AI has currently totally disrupted. But in getting into some locations, having some conversations, reading some materials, opens up their mind to see that that dream, that expectation is null and void. So the opportunity to interact with that information, whether on the internet or through a conversation with a person, they are the places that you must find yourself into. In other words, you must explore knowledge, explore relationships, and apply effort in getting into places and meeting the right people. Strategic effort in learning, in adaptation, in creating and leveraging opportunities. Audit yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, the threats to your life, your career, and your values. Be patient. All right? Expectations design It's a patient game. It has to be done iteratively. So be patient, yet fast. Be patient in how you orchestrate things. Be fast in your implementation so that you can learn. Don't stop evolving. Knowing that the future is always evolving, always ensure that you put yourself in that position where you're able to get feedback, but confront your realities, and you can ultimately and effectively and quickly implement them in your designs, that is, in your expectations, so that you are not left disappointed. One way to achieve this is to ask questions. Many times we think that it is foolishness to ask questions, but I dare say that it's one of the best wisdom you can acquire. It doesn't matter how people look at you. The one who can ask questions will find answers quicker. Wisdom will come to you faster by asking questions. And ask questions to confront your bias. Ask questions to want to learn so that you are not expecting things that would never come to pass because you are overly optimistic and you're far from objectives. All right. So, what are the things we've learned as we talk about navigating your future? So far, we've learned have a balanced perspective of the future. Whatever somebody is doing out there can influence how your future will turn out. Now, you're investing in some products right now. A mistake by some guys in the investment circle can influence how your home portfolio turns out. So you have to constantly, constantly be attentive to realities and be changing things as it often demands, all right, based on the realities that you're getting as feedback. Okay? Know the things you can control. Know the things you can't control. Set pragmatic expectations. Audit yourself honestly, your weakness, your strength, and present yourself with opportunities to scale. Be patient and be fast. Your expectations must keep evolving. I mentioned that, right? Expectations must not be cast in stone, they must be iterative in nature. So I hope that you found this very useful. I want to say thank you for listening. All right. If you want to connect with me, I invite you to read my blog. I blog at kayodeajamali.substack.com. I invite you to subscribe, or you could send me a mail here at official@gmail.com. If you found this video useful, you can also subscribe here. I hope to keep sharing more useful videos. Invite somebody to watch this. And if you have questions, I'll be glad to read your questions. You can just drop your comments for me, and I wish you the very best. Thank you.